important that we can have spaciousness in how we think, spaciousness in how we act, that we come across that we've got time for everyone and we can digest and consume really well. So there's a few things that I think were really important for me at a personal level. You know, I see mindfulness not just, I think mindfulness is getting potentially a bit of a bum steer at the moment, but I see it as a combination of both. It's a wellness piece that when we're present, there's very little stress in our life. You know, the stress comes from the thinking or the thought of past and future. It's the judgment that creates the stress. It's actually the present moment. There's really no stress. There's really no discomfort in the present moment. It's the thought, the possibility, or it's the rumination of what happens that we stew on. So that it's a real wellness piece, mindfulness. And, you know, there's health meditation and meditation to reduce stress and improve well-being. The beauty of, I see mindfulness and where it can head, it's also a performance and a leadership piece, because when we're present, we perform. And that's the bit of, that's a performance moment. You hear all the time athletes or leaders talking about, I was just present, I just stayed in the moment. That's a performance state. You're not performing when you're thinking about missing the goal or hoping the ball doesn't come down, or you've got another 1,000 thoughts apart from the one. When you're present, when you're in flow, you're going to perform really well. So, and that's the bit that really fascinates me around, you know, the mindfulness piece. Is it's a wellness piece and it's a performance piece. So that's what's really drawn me into it. That you can use this as a tool by being more present, by being more open, but by being more aware. The ability to have self-awareness, and self-awareness gives you choice to self-regulate. Self-awareness gives you choice to respond, not to just react unconsciously. And then if we respond really well and we've got wise responses, we're going to have really great outcomes. But when we react unconsciously and don't take in the full entirety of what could happen, and we don't have that lens, then we build on problems. We're a fixer, not a changer. And there's a big difference between fixing and changing. You know, if we're just constantly thinking we're trying to fix things, and they're too broken, too fixed, but we don't have the ability to change it, then we're in this stage of just trying to get little pockets of wins, but we're not going to sustain those wins and create the change. And the best way I describe that is if I talk to people, it's around the blister in the shoe, the idea that you can keep putting the Band-Aid on the blister and it will fix it for a little while. But if the shoe's the problem, the blister will keep on coming back. So fixing it's the Band-Aid to put on the blister. The change is, let's look at the shoes. Do we need to change the shoe that you're wearing that'll stop the blister from coming back again? And that's sort of something to reflect on when we lead, or when we're in partnership, or when we're in life. Is it fixable? If it's not fixable and it keeps reoccurring, what do I need to change? Because chances are that there's a change that needs to happen. It's not the fix anymore. And the self-awareness to know that becomes really important, because we can waste a lot of energy trying to fix. It takes probably more energy if you're fixing something over and over and over again. If it keeps showing up, if it's a behavior or a belief that you've got that's the problem, and you're constantly trying to fix and band-aid that belief up, but you haven't had the ability to change the belief, to question it, to go internally and go, actually, that's not the problem, my belief or how I show up's the problem. That's where the real gold is, and that comes from self-awareness. So, you know, so that's the bit where I really want to explore mindfulness, but mindfulness needs to be practiced. And that's the bit that's the sticking point at the moment with a lot of people, is they want to be more mindful, and they talk about being mindful, but they don't want to practice it. They don't want to sit and meditate because they haven't got time, but they haven't got time because they haven't developed the self-awareness and the spaciousness. And if they meditated more, they probably would have more self-awareness and spaciousness, and it's the chicken before the egg scenario. So we're in this ever-evolving conversation of how to get people to practice the meditation, to find the space to practice the meditation, to create more space. And when I talk about it at a leadership lens, I talk about how do we create the clarity to build more capacity. But then the reflection is we're too full to get clarity. And then we're on this snowball. And again, it relates back to me on and how do I apply that? How do I apply that people will take it and use it? So that's sort of what we looked at is where I sit. And when I will talk to guests around that, I'll talk a lot about my thoughts on wellness. And my thoughts on wellness is really around clean living, clean energy and flow. And that, that comes from nature, of when you've got a clean, really high energy and high flowing ecosystem in nature, it works really well. And what I mean by a clean living is our ability to eat clean, and I'm plant-based and I'm vegan, and I'm not saying that everyone has to be, and I'll have some plant-based guests on from time to time, but we do need to eat clean. We do need to eat, really clean foods, natural foods. That's really important. We can't, the more noise, the more junk you put into your foods, the more problems you're going to have. It's no different. It's like filling your house up with a whole bunch of furniture. You can't move, and there's no flow in the house. It's the same with our food. If it's got a heap of different ingredients, and if you look on the back of the packet and it's got 30 different things with 15 different numbers, there's a lot of junk in that's going to prevent flow. And we need to try to reduce the junk and increase the flow. So that's the food concept. We need to move more. Like, we need to get up and move. We need to be agile. We need to be able to bend. We need to be able to carry still. There's, the sitting's the new smoking. And it might be, I'm not even so worried about the fact that it's going to kill you when there's stats to say that it actually, sitting's not that bad for you. But what about the quality of life when you sit for too long, that you're bad back, or you're stiff, or you just, you can't sleep well because, you're so tight. And then that's just back to quality of life. So we need to move. There's a flow in our life. We need that flow, that chi in our life to continue. So making sure that we move, that's clean, and then the mental, the clean thinking, the ability to have, to be present, to not have a lot of crap in our thoughts constantly. And there's a constant story of not good enough, or there's a constant story of judgment. And we walk into a meeting and there's 30 different stories that we're telling ourselves, and we don't have the clean energy. We don't have the flow to actually take the information in really well and digest it cleanly, because we're so full of other stuff. And we need flow in our lives. So that's when I talk about clean living, I talk about this whole concept of how we do it with our conversations, with what we consume, with our food, with how we move. I feel like it's all connected. How much time we spend in nature as opposed to inside, and that will impact our performance in life, as being our performance being, financially, if that's a goal, but how we lead, how we live, how we show up, and how we perform. It's really important for me. So that's pretty much it. That's a little bit about me, and probably a bit of a dump to how I think, and how I show up as a person. And when I'm in a conversation, I've got those thoughts going around all the time, and probably the areas I'm really fascinated in how people have shaped their lives. So how they grew up, how that has a huge impact on how they live now. So I'll always ask in the podcast, sort of, I might chunk back to when they were growing up, or what their beliefs and values and purpose was when they were children, because I think that's a nice way to shape a conversation. Resetting, got some guests. Again, I'm really going to head down. What you guys have told me is that you love the wellness stuff. The wellness guests have been really popular, and the leadership guests have been really popular. So I feel like I've hit some good markers there in terms of what we need. And so I can, I'm going to really working hard to get more of those kind of people, and real stories that you can relate to, and people that are real relatable, I think is really important too. So, I'm on the hunt for more of those people that can drop those nuggets of wisdom and those really simple but profound takeaways to you. I'm looking for more of those, and I'm looking for more people that have got stories that really inspire. And what I mean by that is stories that you can connect with. So that's where I'm heading. That's what I'm wanting to do with the podcast. I would love any feedback that you guys have got for me. Just, send me an email. You can hit me up at ecolifecoaching.net. and I've got my I've got my email address there. You can contact me through that. So, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to get your thoughts, your lens. I'm a learner. If there's someone you've really got in mind, I'm more than happy to reach out and try and contact anyone. I've got the ability to do some Skype interviews, so I'm really looking forward to getting some people from overseas to come on. I've thrown a few lifelines out there to see, if I can get a couple of those people that are really inspiring me and people that I'm following at the moment, and to see how we go. And as I get more of a following, as I get a bit more of a foundation, I'll really try to elevate the guests. That's sort of how podcasts work. You got to start from a base level, but as you get a bit more popular, the more leverage you got to get a better quality guest or a more known guest. But in the middle of that, I'm really, really trying to find people you wouldn't even know about that have got an amazing story, and you're like, I didn't even know that person existed. I didn't even know about that, but I loved it. So I think there's as much value, if not more, in those people than someone that you might know, that you sort of got a fair idea on their story. You might get a couple of nuggets out, but you get drawn to them because of the name. So that's it. I hope you liked this little session. I hope you got a little bit out of it. Let me know if you want to, I'm thinking episode 20, we do the same. Episode 30, we do the same. And, I might hit up a few different themes and talk about that. If there's anything else you want to know about me or to dig a little bit deeper into and get into the weeds with, let me know. But, I'm hoping you like Conscious Conversations. I'm hoping you like what I lay out and sort of how we do it. And I want to learn more from you and how we can get better. So take care, and we'll see you next week.